We were thinking in which manner can we awaken the hearts of the friends towards the morning lesson so that each one of the friends will be able to rise above himself and become incorporated in the common request, become incorporated in each other, and this mutual incorporation will accompany us during the whole lesson. So let's think about it. Together in the whole world, please what can we offer the Creator? Excerpt 1 from Rush Letter 42. Our sages said, as their faces are not similar to one another, their views are not similar to one another, so how could they be as one man with one heart? Answer: if we are saying that each one cares for himself, it is impossible to be as one man since they are not similar to one another. However, if they all know theirselves and worry only about the benefit of their Creator, they no longer have individual views, since the individuals have all been cancelled and they have all entered the single authority. Friends, a question for an active workshop. What does it mean to worry about the benefit of the Creator? What does it mean to worry about the benefit of the Creator? What does it mean to worry about the benefit of the Creator? It means not to worry about my own benefit, to worry about the benefit of the friends and the benefit of our whole environment, not to worry about myself. That's true. And maybe worry about the friends. And like Rob said yesterday, also 20 years ago, but yesterday he said you have to love where connection, because if from the connection there is a room for the Creator, in anything we receive it for His benefit, for Him, in order to give Him contentment. He says in the excerpt, and we hear it all the time, that specifically in this inclination we can connect. That's the only thing that can connect us. He says, as their faces are not similar, their views are not similar to one another, and the inclination to worry about the benefit of the Creator is also very different. It has a different angle in each one of us, but precisely there when we want that the goal, the benefit of the Creator, will be higher than the difference in that we can connect. We by nature, we are used to worrying about ourselves, meaning to fill myself change we're making, and the work together with the friends, the sources with love, is to change the intention that everything I do will be only for the benefit of someone outside of me, for the sake of the friends, the Creator, also to give thanks to the Creator and to ask of Him that we will truly be able to care only for the environment, for the friends and for the Creator, instead of caring for ourselves. You do ask the Creator to help us to change our nature from the shattering where everyone loves themselves, and to invert our nature to be like Him, to love the other nature, to be love of others. And we exist for that, to learn and to become those who love the other, the Creator, to love the Creator because He's good and does everything. He manages everything, and by this we give Him contentment. We make Him happy. We bring Him, to bring Him joy. To care about the Creator is to worry about revealing Him, that His essence will spread through everything. And for that we have to make sure that the vessel of connection, friends in the world, clear all over the world, where we help spread His name throughout the world. Excerpt 2. Balsam writes in letter 4, you lack nothing but to go out to a field that the Lord has blessed, and collect all those flaccid organs that have drooped from your soul, and join them into a single body. In that complete body, the Creator will instill His Shahina incessantly, permanently, and a fountain of intelligence and high streams of flight will be as a never-ending fountain. Silent workshop. Let's go out with all our heart to the field that the Lord has blessed. Shalom of hello friends, we're going to learn today from a lesson from September 2021 from the writings of Salmarty number 5's Awakening from Above and Why They Need an Awakening from Below. We're going to continue, and from that he can come to know clearly. Where are we with the article? We are in the middle of it. We are in. She is an awakening from above, and why we need the awakening from below. And from this one can come to clear awareness that he has no other choice but to pour out his heart to the Creator, to help him. So the body will agree to enslave itself to the Creator unconditionally. The body means desires that don't want to be connected to the Creator, because all of men is a desire divides into a part that has a inclination towards the Creator and a part that does not happen, as he sees that he cannot persuade his body to annul itself completely. It turns out that precisely when one sees that there's no hope that his body will agree to work for the Creator by itself, one's prayer can be from the bottom of the heart, and then his prayer is accepted. Meaning, as much as we try to add our different desires to our request to the prayer, we come to a state where our prayer is received. The indicator helps with the prayer. We must know that by attaining Lishma, one puts the evil inclination to death, because the evil inclination is the will to receive, and by acquiring the desire to bestow, and acquiring the desire to bestow cancels the will to receive from being able to do anything. This is considered putting it to death, since it has been removed from its office, and it has nothing more to do, since it is no longer in use when it is revoked from its function. This is considered putting it to death. Each and every desire in use is called alive. When we don't use it, that moment is called dead. And when one contemplates what he has in his work, which he works under the sun, one sees that it is not so difficult to enslave oneself to his name. For two reasons. One, anyhow, meaning whether willingly or unwillingly, one must exert in this world. And what does one left from all the efforts he has made? Meaning, what does a person have? He just lives in this world. He serves his beast. As long as it's alive, then it dies and nothing happened. He lived for someone who eventually dies. Meaning, from the very beginning you can see that all of life is pointless. Nothing good ever comes out of them. Two, however, if a person works, he receives pleasure during the work too. Not only in the end, we have the attainment of the creation, attainment of the Creator, and so we rise above from all the worlds, but also during their work, when we go from in order to bestow, and to the extent that we are in the intention to bestow to the Creator, we receive pleasure from that. You did not call me Jacob, for you labored about me, Israel. He said that it is like a rich man who departed the train and had a small bag. He placed it where all the merchants place their baggage, and the porters take the baggage and bring them to the hotel where the merchants say stay. The porter thought that clearly the merchant would take a small bag by himself, and there's no need for a porter for this. So he took a big package. The merchant wanted to pay him a small fee as he usually pays, but the porter did not want to take it and said, I put a big bag into the hotel depository which exhausted me, and I barely carried your bag, and you want to pay me so little for it. The lesson is that when one comes and says that he exerted extensively in observing Torah, the Creator tells him, you did not call me Jacob. In other words, it is not my baggage that you took. Rather, this baggage belongs to someone else. Since you say that you had much effort in Torah and mitzvot, you must have had a different landlord for whom you worked. So go to him to pay you. This is the meaning of for you labored about me, Israel. Meaning, if we truly work in order to bestow for the Creator, we receive a light from him, and such illumination that stops us from feeling any difficulty, but on the contrary, we feel uplifted. We receive a spiritual force. So the corporeal force is not felt in us as work, as effort. Accordingly, we can check and see, are we in a state of spiritual upliftment or corporal burdening? I don't know if we should continue. Let's ask. Yes, dear Raf. The fact that we connect the points that You drew and we connect them together. That's not yet called. Is there another addition here that's needed? According to the drawing here, we want to connect the all of our dots together and aimed at the Creator. But those are still efforts on our behalf. Of course, the upper light works on us. It works on us all the time. That's it's an absolute rest, and we have nothing without only our efforts. And then the upper light, when we try to connect together from this connection, we pray. This is called prayer in the public or prayer of many, where although there are many of us, but we wish to be as one. We pray to the Creator, and this is our work. This is where we only raise our requests up to the upper force. He writes here what we read, that so that the package won't be felt as heavy for us in our work. How to do it? So that it will be for the sake of the Creator, because the upper light, let's say upper light, that we want to influence us. We can awaken it only through the labor between us. The extent to which we connect, we wish to connect, and we want it to influence us. So we pray to it, we ask of it to bestow to us the upper light. This is called the reforming light, and it influences us, and it connects us into one desire, one vessel. From this one desire we connect as one, and the Creator is also as one. It's called one, receives one, and in this way we're willing to bestow to the Creator, and He's willing to bestow to us. If I depict such an exercise like you explained, that we connect in such a point, so how should we build it? How to aim ourselves together to that point? Try to connect the hearts. If we can't ask the Creator and then expect that by our efforts and the Creator's help, we'll be able to connect our inner desires of our heart, each and every one, and then certainly we will necessitate the Creator to work on us and help us fulfill us with His light. It all depends on this work between us. All right. Okay, let's keep going. Whoever works for the Creator doesn't have any exertion. On the contrary, happiness and uplifting. But he who works for other goals can complain to the Creator why the Creator did not impart in taste and vitality of the work, because he wasn't working to the Creator for the Creator to pay him for his work. But man can complain to those people who he was working for them, that they will bestow vitality to them. And since he is in Lishma, there are a lot of goals. That's why a person needs to demand from the goal he was working for that that will give him a reward, meaning pleasure and vitality. And it was said about them that they will be difficult according to that we see that when someone receives for himself the burden of the kingdom of heaven without any other intention from any way, he feels no vitality. This to say that this vitality compels him to take upon himself the burden of the kingdom of heaven, meaning we don't know, we can't say that now I aim for the Creator and immediately I feel an awakening, an inspiration. It attracts me, it fulfills me, it opens my mind, it opens my heart. I feel confidence. There's no such thing. No, meaning it is not an indication that if we're connected to the Creator correctly between us and with the Creator, that by this we immediately get a feeling, a special spiritual feeling. And the reason is he takes upon himself the burden is only faith upon reasoning. I have no choice. I have to continue to accept the actions of bestow which don't explain to me or show me or give me a feeling that I'm on the right path, that I'm inspired. No, the Creator doesn't do that to me. In other words, he does it by way of course of overcoming unwillingly. Thus, we might ask, why does one feel exertion in this work with the body constantly seeking a time when it can rid itself of the work, as one does not feel any vitality in the work? According to the above, when one works in humbleness, when his only goal is to work in order to bestow, why does the Creator not impart him taste and vitality in the work? Meaning, why don't we immediately feel, oh, we've entered the right path. We've aimed ourselves at the right connection. We've done something towards the Creator. Why don't we immediately get the correct feedback to aim ourselves correctly? The Creator doesn't do that. Why? The answer is that we must know that this matters a great correction, meaning it's not by chance that the Creator hides from us whether we're on the right track or not, whether we did some correct action or not. We don't get an immediate response. Were it not for this meaning, if the light and vitality had illuminated immediately when one began to take upon himself burden of the kingdom of heaven, he would have had vitality in the work. In other words, the will to receive too would have consented to this work. In that state, he would certainly agree because he wants to satisfy his desire, meaning he would work for his own benefit, meaning we would immediately see, oh, here I did a correct spiritual action and I feel pleasure. Here I didn't do a correct spiritual action, I feel suffering. So then the problem is to be where there's pleasure instead of suffering. Then how do I rise above my ego with faith above reason? And that's why there's no other choice but to take a few steps in the darkness, which means without a clear response of whether we're going in the right track or not. Had that been the case, it would have never been possible to achieve Lishma, since he would be compelled to work for his own benefit, as he would feel greater pleasure in the work of the Creator than in corporeal desires. Thus he would have to remain in Lalishma, since he would have had satisfaction in the work, and where there is satisfaction one cannot do anything, as without profit one cannot work. Follows that if one received satisfaction in this work of Lishma, not for his sake, he would have to remain in that state. This would be similar to what people say, that when there are people chasing a thief to catch him, the thief too runs and yells, "Catch the thief." Then it is impossible to recognize who is the real thief, so as to catch him and take the theft out of his hand. However, when the thief, meaning the will to receive, does not feel any flavor or vitality in the work of accepting the burden of the kingdom of heaven, in that state, if one works with faith above reason, coercively, and the body becomes accustomed to this work against the desire of his will to receive, then he has the means by which to come to work that will be with the purpose of bringing contentment to his Maker, since the primary requirement from a person is to come to adhesion with the Creator through his work, which is discerned as equivalence of form, where all his actions are in order to bestow. This is as it is written, then shall you delight the Lord. Meaning of then is that first in the beginning of this work he did not have pleasure. Instead his work was coercive. But afterward, when he has already accustomed himself to work in order to bestow and not examine himself, if he feels a good taste in the work, but believes that he is working to bring contentment to his Maker through his work, he should believe that the Creator accepts the work of the lower ones, regardless of how and how much is the form of their work. In everything the Creator examines the intention, and this brings contentment to the Creator. Then one is rewarded with delight in the Lord. Even during the work of the Creator, he will feel delight and pleasure, since now he really does work for the Creator, because the effort he made during the coercive work qualifies him to be able to truly work for the Creator. You can find that then too the pleasure he receives relates to the Creator, meaning specifically for the Creator. Let's answer a few questions from Israel. On one hand, it's clear the matter of question. On the other hand, how do you get a feedback that we're advancing correctly? We don't receive any feedback. We go in order to bestow. In order to bestow means I don't mind what I get in return. I don't look at it as proof for whether what I'm doing is right or not. I'm going for bestow. I have a group, and if I arrange myself towards the group, and from the group towards the Creator, then I don't go wrong. Hebrew 10. Good morning. How do we reach a state in a constant state that we feel that bestowing will be as receiving, that we felt that we got something by bestowing? They didn't understand. Say it again. How do we reach a state, a constant state of feel that bestowing to the Creator will be as reception for us? That you understand at if you have a child, a baby of yours, and as much as you give to him and he receives you, enjoy. So you give him, or you use what you give him to enjoy. Sometimes we see this on a mother who's trying to push more and more to her kids, more than they need. She enjoys it, perhaps doesn't even take into account that they don't really want it. She gives and she enjoys. There are such dynamics as well. So we need to understand that bestow leads to pleasure. If you love the one you bestow to, that's it, to the point that you implore him and beg him to receive. Like, say, with little children or babies, we want them to receive, let's say, something we want to give to them. And why do we ask? Because by that we raise ourselves. So it's not a matter of giving or receiving. It's the matter of intention. To whom do I give pleasure? Myself, or the friend, or the Creator? The intention determines everything, not the action. Our world is a world of actions. Actions, different actions, but the desire is always egoistic. So there's nothing to take into account here in terms of the desire. It's always for the benefit of the person, otherwise he can't make any action. And if we move to the spiritual world, it's the opposite. The actions are only in order to bestow to others. Any other thing, any other way, and we don't exist in the spiritual world. Brazil 2. Yes. Thank you, Rob. Hello. When we go into the work during the day, and before when I think of the friends, should do something for them, does the intensity of this intention, does it change anything? Does it change this desire in any kind of way? Does it influence the actions in the group all the more so? The intentions in the group, they always make a step that pushes us forward. Yes, it's a phone too. What action in our eyes turns prayer into practical actions? I don't know exactly what you mean by the actions that we do, trying to connect between us and seeing how much we are unsuccessful. And I see that it happens with people who would like to connect in groups, but they're not successful, and they leave. They stop. But if we don't manage to connect, we need to turn to the Creator, and that's what we don't do. So then we stop halfway, and we don't receive the assistance from above, the force that will connect us. And then, as a result of connection between us, if we would then turn to the Creator again, then we would succeed for sure right away. So our whole problem is that we are trying to be closer to each other as much as possible. But where is the test to see that we're actually not connected, that we don't feel as a single heart? And then we need to turn to the Creator to do it. We did our part. We got as close as we could. We didn't succeed. And from that point of lack of success, we turn to you, the Creator. Help us do it. He needs to do it. We can't. But discovering that we can't, that is impossible without making an effort. When we made an effort and we haven't succeeded, then we turn to Him, and according to our request, He makes the connection between us. That's it. How to turn to Him correctly. How to turn to Him correctly with all your heart. From the common heart. That's it. Don't try to revolve around the Creator this way or the other. It's not going to help. You just need to reach a state where you reach Him with an open heart. That's us. We've tried. He knows it. What's important is what you tell yourself. So, the prayer means to pray means the extent to which you examine yourself, judge yourself. This word is such a verb that a person does towards himself. One examines himself and presents that to the Creator. That's what it means. We present ourselves to the Creator and ask Him to correct us to do something. We got nothing more to do. But that's what we must do. Friends, we will continue to the next lesson, preface to the wisdom of Kabbalah. We will learn with a lesson from May 14th, 2006 from the writings of Biolam. Preface of the Wisdom of Kabbalah. Item 14. Preface of the Wisdom of Kabbalah. Item 14. We said previously that there is the thought of creation good who does good. And Kabbalists reach this feeling and they say that this is the root, the highest most thing from which creation emerged. From his desire to do good to his creations, from his nature that he is good and does good. This upper force, and it is the nature of the good to do good. So he wanted to create someone in order to give him the benefit, and that it is someone will feel the benefit. So certainly on the one hand he has to create the will to receive. On the other hand, the will to receive that was created is in oppositeness of form to the Creator to bestow, and this separation in itself brings the will to receive to the lowest degree, which is worse than the Creator's will to bestow, and this separation is what determines that the created being is in a state of loneliness, and immediately with the creation of the will to receive existence from absence, when the will to receive was created in phase 1, therefore, immediately this will to receive should be brought to match the Creator's will to bestow. Then what we learn in the entire wisdom of Kabbalah is how that same will to receive that was created. How does this created being reach equivalence of form with the thought of creation to do good to his creations of the Creator? And in order to perform this action, the created being has to do it by himself. By that, it reaches not to be just similar one force to another force, the will to receive to the will to bestow, but rather, by that it acquires the thought of creation, which is above the force. It's the root and the essence of everything. Preface to item 14 to save the created beings from this titanic separation. The first restriction took face, separating phase 4 from the rest of the parts of holiness, so that great measure of reception remained an empty space, the void of any light, since all the parts of holiness emerged with a screen that was installed in their vessel of Malot, so they would not receive light in this phase. For then when the upper light was extended and expanded to the emanated being, and this screen rejected it, this is regarded as a striking between the upper light and the screen, which raises reflected light from below upwards, clothing the tense field of the upper light. This means that there is a development on behalf of the upper light when it reaches the desire that it created, that from the side of the light. This is simple light, but in order to create the desire, it must cascade with additional qualities that will be felt in the desire, that quality of peace which is bestow hashper, and when it reaches the desire, the will to be to receive, then it is felt as bestowing, giving, and in order for it not to so, there won't be separation between the giver and the receiver. The force was created that links between them. It's actually the force that balances them, which is the force of their screen that is opposite to this will to receive. It's opposite to it, the will to receive. So the will to receive wants to receive the light, and the screen doesn't let the light be received in the will to receive. So in the created being there are now two opposite forces. One is the force that draws, that pulls, and the other is the force that rejects in the created being. The rejecting force is called Master's screen, and the pulling force is called the will to receive. And so from here the created being has a few states. Either it receives, with if the pulling force is the greater one, or it restricts, itself is restricted, or it rejects. There are no additional actions from the side of the created being, and besides, that is the calculation, the intention. Above all of these, the intention is for what purpose is it doing it. It could be that it receives in order to bestow good to someone, to do good. It's possible that it rejects because it feels bad, because it feels shame. It is possible that it restricts itself because it does not want, or it restricts itself because it actually does want but is afraid of humiliation. All to the contrary, meaning all of these actions, receiving, rejecting, or restricting, further depend on the intention. What is the thing that obligates him? Yes, since that part of the light that was rejected and pushed back is called reflected light. As it dresses the upper light, it becomes a vessel for reception of the upper light instead of phase. For since afterwards the vessel of mala expanded by the measure of reflected light, the rejected light which rose and dressed the upper light from below upward and expanded from above downward. 2. Thus the lights were clothed in the vessels within the reflected light. So merit. This means that if the light comes and the vessel rejects it, by that it separates between it and the direct light, and it builds or reflected light, where the reflected light is the intention. Why is it doing it? And it doesn't matter if it receives or restricts or rejects, so long as it builds the intention, meaning what is the nature of its action, and then this intention becomes a vessel, and in it he receives the direct light, so that all of his desire is here below as it was before, but it now only serves as a basis upon which he builds his vessel, meaning below it is the vessel of the Creator, and above it is the vessel of the created being, meaning the deficiency that the created being gives to the Creator, the deficiency that the created being creates. The Creator created the will to receive, and the created being uses the will to receive, but in order to build his own desire, a desire to bestow. This vessel is entirely made of reflected light. This is what the created being positions opposite the or places opposite the upper light, a new deficiency. Read again. Read it again. We're reading again from the beginning of Island 14 to save the created beings from this titanic separation, meaning that they receive and the Creator is the giver. How to make them be in the same nature, and it is impossible to directly create the same nature. The first restriction took place, separating phase 4 from the rest of the suum of holiness. This means that it became possible for the created being not to be influenced, not to be under the control of his desire. This is called the meaning of the restriction, that the created being can emerge from the control of the pleasure of the will to receive and stand as independent, and then from that state determine what he wants. Let's say I surrender under some pleasure. I'm not capable of avoiding it. It is considered that I do not exist. The pleasure is what determines when it comes. I'm done. I'm complete, and when it doesn't come I have a deficiency towards it. Then some force comes to me from somewhere. I don't know what. Let's see. And now I can cope against this pleasure. I can place some wall between me and it and not be influenced by it. This is called restriction. Even though I do want it, I do not erase my desire, but it gives me the power to cope. Now from this force of coping, now whether the created being has the ability to develop malhood, the original malhood becomes separated. It no longer rules, and the created being begins to see what are these first 9. What are the qualities of the Creator that is no longer addicted to the pleasure itself, but rather now it connects to the qualities that reach it. How can I learn from him? Who is he? So, He rises to the degree from the degree of just pleasure and efficiency to the degree of the qualities themselves. I want to be like him. This means that there is the will to receive and the pleasure and efficiency. And there is already the restriction sum. And above the restriction there are the qualities of the creator and the created. Being with respect to these qualities of the creator, opposite these qualities, the created being builds his reflected light, meaning intentions that he wants to be like. Then the first 9 and down here it is also seemingly opposite the first 9. But these are not the first 9 here, but rather here the first 9 are as pleasure, and here the first 9 are as qualities as the qualities of the creator. Okay, so I'm already relating to his personality, to who he is. I want to be like him, not whatever comes from him, or it doesn't matter from whom, so that I will enjoy, but rather I relate to the host. What is he? Himself, and I want to resemble him. That is here down below. I'm engaging in the pleasure, it's according to the pleasure, and up here it is according to the qualities, or according to giving and receiving. Well, let's say according to the qualities. Please, so that the great measure of reception remained an empty space devoid of any light, since all the bottom of holiness emerged with a screen installed in the reversal of Malhut. So whatever Malhut is never filled. The will to receive is never filled. The will to receive is filled, but it is filled in order to bestow. It's no longer the same will to receive. It's not the same attitude towards it, not the same usage of it. This is why it is considered that Malhut is restricted and is never filled. Is that clear? Because if I fill my belly with delicacies in order to bestow to the host, my feeling of refreshments is completely different from just receiving pleasures with the intention of enjoying by myself. That same desire with the same usage is disqualified from, is no longer qualified to be used, and never exists again after the first restriction. It is never used. This is considered that mal of direct light was restricted and no longer exists in time of Kedusha of holiness. Since all the parts of holiness have merged with a screen installed in their vessel of Ma'at, so they would not receive light in this phase 4. Then, when the upper light was extended and expanded to the emanated being, this screen rejected it. This is regarded as a striking between the upper light and the screen, which raises reflected light from below, upwards clothing the T of the upper light. That part of the light that was rejected and pushed back is called reflected light. As it addresses the upper light, it becomes a vessel for reception of the upper light. Instead of phase 4, just afterward the vessel of Malat, expanded by the measure of reflected light, the rejected light which rose and dressed the upper light from below upward and expanded from above downward. 2. Thus the lights were closed in the vessels within the reflected light. This means that there is a different relation here. He restricts himself from using his deficiency to enjoy according to the desire to enjoy, according to the relation to the pleasures that come. He restricts this relation, the attitude, and he relates to the host that he wants to resemble the host. He wants to delight the host as much as he's capable of it, as much as the host is important to him. So, he makes the calculation, and accordingly, he begins to enjoy with his vessels that are intended to feel pleasure, and by this it is considered that the vessel of Mot is expanded to receive the light within it. What does it mean within it? As much as it decided in the row in the head in the calculation. Towards the host accordingly, he uses his natural vessels, and by that he has a row a certain relation to the host, which is the opposite of the original vessels. Because the row is entirely bestow calculation about that, and the vessel that he starts to use the pleasures and the deficiencies for pleasure, it also becomes a vessel of Bestow because all of the pleasure is now received with the intention to bestow with reflected light. This is the meaning of the rush head and goof body in each degree. The coupling, by striking from the upper light in the screen, raises reflected light from below, upward address and addresses the tense field of the upper light in the form of the tense field of the meaning the roots of the vessels. Since there cannot be actual clothing there, subsequently when Malut expands to with that reflected light from above downward, the reflected light ends and becomes vessels for the upper light. At that time there is clothing of the lights in the vessels, and this is called the goof, or the body of that degree that is complete vessels. This means that this whole new patent of the created being is to manage himself through coupling by striking. The created being feels the whole of reality inside the itself. He feels himself within himself. He feels the host, the creature within himself. Outside of him, he cannot feel anything. The giving that the creator seemingly exists on the outside gives him the creator's attitude towards him. He feels all of that inside of himself, meaning the creator who created the created being gave the created being these preparations so that the created being will have within the created being all of the elements, the data to work with the giver, the receiver, the attitude of the giver towards the receiver, and develop the attitude of the receiver back to the giver. All of these takes place inside of the vessel, inside of the will to receive of the created being, and also when he bestows seemingly to the creator by enjoying by himself, and he feels that the creator is enjoying from him, that too takes place inside of the created being. And so who is the creator? Also a discernment inside of the created being. Everything happens inside of the created being, and therefore it's not difficult to understand from that the created being reaches the degree of the creator when he feels inside of himself who he is, and he equalizes with him, and he unites with him, because all of these discernments are inside of the created being. He never ever comes out of himself, but rather it all starts and ends inside of his vessels. This is why we shouldn't run away from this vessel that was made by the 4 phases of direct light. This, however, includes within it the whole of creation, and everything happens in it. If the root phase in it is the kettle, where creator from phase the phase of the kettle, there is a development of the 8 qualities down to the sword, and beyond the sword there is the quality of the created being when he feels that he is the created being with respect to the prior first phases in it, and which are called the creator's quality is the creator's attitude. The kettle relates to Malat through the 8 phases in between them, and when it wants to relate back to the ket like him, so the way that the kettle built it to begin with, it has to restrict that discernment and to start to relate to the kettle as the ket relates to it, and then it builds the 9 sephiro of reflected light towards the keter that then becomes Malat of reflected light, and then in between the keter and Malhud through these connection of 8 qualities is this entire dialogue, this whole connection between the creator and the created being. Yes, if everything takes place inside the created being, who does he bestow to? So, everything is inside the created being, and the ket, and also the mar. Who does he bestow to? To whom are you talking now? Ha, ha. You're suddenly looking at me as though you don't know who I am. No, I'm trying to think. Who are you? Who am I speaking to? To whom did you now turn to? To you. Who's I? No. Well, I don't know. Oh, okay. That's true. You don't know. So you have inside of you a certain image that it seems to you that this is something that exists outside of you, and he relates to you in a certain way, and you appreciate him in a certain way. You measure him in a certain way, and then you turn to him. Right. Does he exist outside of you? Outside of your vessels of sensation? Outside of your feeling? No. He exists inside of your vessels, and to these vessels, to whatever happens inside of them. This is whom you turn to, meaning all of the friends and the whole world and everything that exists inside of that person. This is why it is considered that man is called a small world, and it all starts from this initial form. What do we say? There's no creator without the created being. There's no light without a vessel. Because who says that this light exists? How did Colists reach that? They say that the upper light expands. What does it mean it expands? It expands in my vessels. Otherwise, how can I say that the upper light expands at all? There is no such thing that I say something about, something which is not through my vessels. I saw this in the computer that I'm going somewhere to see what is happening there. Right, I asked the teachers, what does it mean? It happens there. They told me it doesn't happen there. If you see it in your computer, then it exists inside of you. It's not that you stretch out your hand and you're there somewhere. No, where you feel it or whatever you have before you in computer. It's not there. It's in you. That's it. This is why everything takes place in the vessel of the created being only. And then we just need to organize the relations between these qualities to give them a certain degree of importance, a correct relation, and realize that all of this takes place and exists in the created being, and it operates according to a set of laws, that there is a connection between all of the phase of the phase ease, and what happens in them follows a certain process, and so that in the end they are balanced and they're all incorporated together and they exist in perfect harmony and balance. And it's only with respect to the feeling of the created being that he feels himself in the way that he exists. There is seemingly a certain process here, and the created being should take part in this process in order to reach the depth of the state, the true state, that everything exists in absolute rest in the quality and under the control of the upper force alone. So the kettle governs everything. When the created being reaches that from the kettle through all of the qualities down to malhood, and from malhood back up towards the kettle, only one quality governs and not all of the other qualities that it sees. It is considered that it reaches balance and the permanent true state. This takes place in the entire vessel, and also in every part of the vessel, and even in our universe, that it seems to us that it is expanding and contracting, or this is also a process that seems to us because we see a projection from the qualities that take place within us, that change within us. 15. Thus, new vessels were made in the of holiness instead of phase 4 after the first restriction. They were made of the reflected light of the coupling by striking in the screen. Indeed, we should understand this reflected light and how it became a vessel of reception, since initially it was but a light that was rejected from reception. Thus, it now serves in an opposite role from its own essence. Meaning, how can it be that the forces of rejection and refusal invert to become vessels of reception? But precisely, they become the true vessels. And what was seemingly the natural deficiency that was capable of receiving pleasure, it turns out that it is completely disqualified and not worthy of it, because opposite the pleasure it is in, opposite tends a form, and so it immediately neutralizes the pleasure that enters it and fills it, meaning as much as it does not make sense to us that we cannot understand it, because we are in the opposite form from all of the true worlds, the true state. But the will to receive to begin with is not intended to receive pleasure, to fill itself, to feel pleasure, to even be a vessel of reception to begin with. It was already created in order to just be the basis and serve, bestow, meaning the creator who created the will to receive intended for the created being to immediately receive the opposite form, and therefore what later we seems like the shattering and the other side, the evil forces in this world, with all the deficiencies and blows that We go through all of these things are imaginary. They do not exist in a true manner because the will to receive never functions in a way that it receives. It can't be in that it is not qualified from it from the nature of its creation, that it is the opposite of the light, but rather only to the extent that the created being will learn how to build a correct relation above it. The will to receive only shows him the negativity in it. This is called the other side. I shall explain that with an allegory. From life, men's nature is to cherish and favour the quality of bestow and to despise and loathe reception from one's friend. Hence when one comes to one's friend's house and he invites him for a meal, and then he, even if he's very hungry, he will decline, since in his eyes it is humiliating to receive a gift from his friend because he does not exist in the root, and the nature is such that the branch must resemble the root, that he feels rest, peace, balance, and there is nothing more than the equivalence with the root. There is no inclination that is more basic in the more fundamental in the created being, nothing. So he's ready to do anything just in order to reach equivalence with the root, a connection with the root, to be in the root. It doesn't matter how you call this inclination, but it is the principal inclination, the primary inclination in the created being, that the branch wants to resemble its root. Therefore he has something before him as pleasure, but he discovers in that it is the opposite of the root. Then he is not capable, even though he wants the pleasure on the one hand, but on the other hand he is not capable of transgressing this lack of equivalence with the root, and therefore a person is willing to kill himself just in order not to feel shame. He cannot consider anything else above that. Well, it depends on his development. If he's not Adam, if he's just on the level of the beast, then he behaves according to the level of the beast, but in terms of the higher level of development he's willing to do anything just in order to keep his equivalence with the root, and we have no choice. This thing is greater than all of the other qualities and inclinations and forces within us. This is why one might be dying of hunger, but he is developed to the extent that he feels the host more than his lack, his hunger, then he won't be able to receive, and it doesn't matter if the host is there or not. It's an inner struggle within the person, and he will die of hunger and not take anything. Yet when his friend sufficiently implores him until it is clear that he would do his friend a big favour by eating, he then agrees to eat, as he no longer feels that he is receiving a gift, and that his friend is the giver. On the contrary, he, the guest, is the giver, doing his friend a favour by receiving this good from him. Thus you find that although hunger and appetite are vessels of reception designated for eating, and that person had sufficient hunger and appetite to receive his friend's meal, he still could not taste a thing due to their shame. Yet as his friend implored him, and he rejected him, new vessels for eating began to form in him. Since the power of his friends' pleading and the power of his own rejection, as they accumulated, finally added up to a sufficient amount that turned the measure of reception into a measure of bestow. In the end he saw that by eating he would do a great big favour to his friend, and bring great contentment to him. In that state new vessels of reception to receive his friend's meal were born in him, and now it is considered that his power of rejection has become the essential vessel in which to receive the meal, and not the hunger and the appetite, although they are actually the usual vessels of reception. How can it be that out of the fact that I want to receive and enjoy, that is the egoistic force to receive, and along with that I have another egoistic force that I feel shame if I do receive? Two egoist, the most ego two of the most egoistic forces, self-respect, self-honour on the one hand, and a desire to receive on the other hand. That's what a person has We have nothing else beyond that. How come when the two collide within me, the opposite force emerges, the force of giving? Are you listening? This is something that did not exist in their nature. In their nature, there was only how to fill myself through self-honor and with pleasures by the two of them. Colliding from the collision between them specifically, I suddenly begin to feel the host that he is giving to me. He's bestowing to me, that he is a quality of giving that I wasn't even thinking about this, that such a thing exists. I didn't care about it. I never felt that there is such a thing in reality. And I begin to feel a certain appreciation for it, for this giving. I begin to want to be related to it, to want it, to resemble it. And later on, I let go of these two inclinations, these primary qualities of the will to receive and self-honor, these two egoistic qualities, and upon them I build a relation towards giving, and actually only giving. And these two qualities, if they exist or not, I no longer care about it. The only thing I care about is giving, and then I enter this quality of the host and I want to be him, like him, and that's it. How does it all take place from these two egoistic inclinations in the collision between them, so that I won't be able to fill myself with pleasures because my self-respect doesn't allow me that, and I can't erase my self-respect or do something with it, with the feeling of the pleasures. How these two forces that are the most egoistic, how they suddenly create something which is the opposite of then. How does it happen? Because the contradiction between them gives me a certain image of the host that otherwise I wouldn't feel him. How can I feel him, feel bestow, giving? From where will I feel such a thing and understand that it exists? I feel that someone is giving. I feel that I am important. The upper light, we can awaken it only through effort between us. And as much as we want to connect, we pray for it. We pray and we pray to him and we ask him to bestow to us and connect us. We try to connect as one and he is as one. One receives one. Again, we can awaken the upper light only through effort we make between us. As much as we want to connect, we pray to him and we ask that he will bestow upon us and connect us. We try to connect as one and he is one. One receives one. Okay, we have a lesson on the topic of the complete prayer. Prayer for the bottom of the heart. We prepared a few clips, a few workshops, and we'll try to be active as much as possible to draw the light. Let's read it all open. In general, you want to have the source except before you. We're talking about everything happens through the force of prayer. We're reading everything is obtained by the power of prayer, and we're going to read excerpt number 7. So let's open it, and we're going to need these because we're going to read them together. So everything is obtained by the power of prayer. Excerpt number 7 says in Sharif, we just saw a recorded lesson about it few minutes ago. The prayer must be a complete prayer, meaning from the bottom of their heart. This means that one knows 100% that there is no one in the world who can help him but the Creator himself. How does one know this, that no one will help him but the Creator himself? One can acquire that awareness precisely if he has exerted all the powers at his disposal and it did not help him. Thus, one must do every possible thing in the world to attain for the sake of the Creator. Then one can pray from the bottom of the heart, and then the Creator hears his prayer. Now the question for a workshop, and we ask that you read again the excerpt in ver 10. There's several questions that should appear on the screen now. So, what is a complete prayer? When under which conditions is it considered a complete prayer, and what characterizes a complete prayer? What should a person do in order to reach a complete prayer? There are several questions here you can choose from. Read the excerpt and we'll discuss it for 10 minutes. But first read again the excerpt in the tents on the tables in the rooms here in the study hall and all over the world. Let's go through the excerpt at least once or twice more as friends are reading it around the table. Let's get into the words of them and then scrutinize the following questions. Again, what is a complete prayer? What is a prayer from the bottom of the heart? When and under what conditions is the prayer considered a complete prayer? What characterizes it? What should the person do to reach a complete prayer? Active workshop, please. Okay, I'm not reading the excerpt. The prayer must be a complete prayer from the bottom of their heart. This means that one knows 100% that there is no one in the world who can help him but the Creator himself. Yet how does one know this? No one will help him but the Creator himself. One can acquire that awareness precisely if he has exerted all the powers at his disposal and it did not help him. Thus one must do every possible thing in the world to attain for the sake of their Creator. Then one can pray from the bottom of their heart, and then the Creator hears his prayer. Should we read twice? Okay, we'll read it again. The prayer must be a complete prayer, meaning from the bottom of the heart. This means that one knows 100% that there is no one in the world who can help him but the Creator himself. Yet how does one know this? That no one will help him but the Creator himself. One can acquire that awareness precisely if he has exerted all the powers at his disposal and it did not help him. Thus one must do every possible thing in the world to attain for the sake of their Creator. Then one can pray from the bottom of the heart, and then the Creator hears his prayer. So a complete prayer is a prayer from the bottom of the heart. And how can you come to a complete prayer? Only when you combine all the desires, all the yearnings, all of our hearts, then you can come to a complete prayer from our common heart. It's possible that a person or 10 reaches a state where they can no longer continue like that, and they cry out, and then the Creator can answer because it hurts, but the 10 or where person that they do not attain what they want, and they cannot attain it, and also they even say that they are in joy from what's called despair of their own horses. It's a good state, and specifically in such a state where two opposite forces, there's room for a Creator. Yeah. Complete state is from the depth of the heart. According to the excerpt, it's after a person did everything he could and nothing helped him, and then he can actually present his prayer from the bottom of the heart. Also in the previous lesson talked about it. He said that to turn to him correctly is from the bottom of the heart, and that's not from my own heart, but from our common heart of the 10. We present that common heart to the Creator, and he will correct us. He will raise us to be in adhesion with him, and says to be capable to go with this common art we need to go out of ourselves. We need to perform actions of connection. We need to exit ourselves, our self-love, and we discover it's impossible for us, and this is the foundation for the complete prayer. Because the heart desire, and if we want to find a new desire to give, we discover we can't do it on our own. I was also really impressed from the first part where Rob is aiming this matter, where specifically then when we discover that we're not capable of doing it on our own, then many groups actually stop, and instead of understanding that here is the place to convene together and as a group specifically, and this complete prayer for us, it's specifically here that we tried. We are coming closer to a certain extent, and then we don't continue to the next step, which is the assembly for prayer. In the end of the excerpt, it says that the Creator hears his prayer. As we know that every animal that does anything has a certain prayer in it. There's a certain plea, whether it's, say, grass or whatever. But there's a desire that is raised to that upper force, and he hears the difference in our inner cry that are common. Cry that in awareness we start getting feedback from that upper force. What does that mean? We'll have to discover that together. Yes, the Creator awakened us. He gave us the points in our hearts, gave us the desire to come close to Him, to be like Him. This is not a natural desire. It's a desire that doesn't exist in this world. And besides awakening us, we need to continue the work, see to what extent we really want it. And that's our part, our half of our Chekel. And we have this privilege and possibility to do it together, to connect all our yearnings, all our prayers, these requests together, feel each other's lacks and connect them to one powerful prayer, and to demand really, even though we don't understand all the way what it is and how it will appear, but we understand that that's the purpose of creation, and we must understand that we won't be able to attain this with our own forces, but rather only from the help of the Creator. Is writing that a complete prayer is connecting all the friends' deficiencies into one that creates one vessel with one plea to the Creator to give us the forces to work for Him through annulling our private desires and the connection between us two, the common desire, and by that we'll give Him contentment. We also heard from Love earlier that he said that the plea has to be from the bottom of the heart and from our common heart, and we have to reach the Creator with an open heart. It's also written that it's upon a person to do all the actions that could be in the world in order to be rewarded with for the sake of the Creator, and then he can give a prayer from the depth of his heart because he did everything he could do to reach a state that he can't anymore, and discover that only the Creator can, and then it'll be clear that only the Creator can. And there's friends for us to get to that. Thank you, friends, for the scrutiny. We just started. So in order to complete it, let's hear words and watch him together and enter clip number 8. Please. But in what is the prayer expressed in the world we're always only talking about? That we need to understand that only our correct plea to the Creator will save us means that will bring us to a degree of bestow, and now bestow seems to us as some big reward in our vessels of reception, meaning we're asking completely and correctly. So how can we invert ourselves before we get a spiritual force? How can I ask from the Creator for the force of bestow if I don't want it? That is through envy, lust and honour that we feel in the 10. Then I can stabilize myself with the 10 that I'm incorporated in them in the force of the by that I'm incorporated in our common prayer, and the Creator on that for sure answers. We're going to continue this reading. Reading number 8. It is upon a person to pray each day that the Creator will open his eyes, so he will recognize the greatness and importance of the Creator, so he is fuel to labor with the aim to bestow. There are 2 discernments to make in this. 1, to have a desire to bestow contentment upon his Maker, that this will be his only aspiration. 2, to do things with the aim that the actions will bring him a desire to do things in order to please the Creator. In other words, he must work and toil extensively to obtain light and vessel. Light means that he received from the Creator a desire where he craves all day to bring contentment to the Creator, and a clear vessel is a desire, meaning that he wants to bestow upon the Creator. Those 2 he should receive from the Creator, meaning both the light and the clear. Yes, friends. So what we're asking now is to take number 8 and open it together in the tent. Let's read it at least 2 more times, and even 3. And the first workshop question that we're already aiming you towards while you're reading: what is the difference between the 2 discernments that he is describing in this excerpt? Again, he's speaking about 2 discernments. Speak about it in the tense. What is the difference between the two discernments. So let's read once, or twice if not 3 times. This excerpt again, it's not simple, it's very condensed, and let's try and answer together or scrutinize together in the 10. What is the difference between those two discernments that is explaining in this excerpt? So active workshop 4 minutes are concerned, we'll read, we heard the instructions. I'm just saying that, I'm just starting by saying that. That was a very nice excerpt that we scrutinized yesterday. These 2 phases, these 2 discernments that they asked for us to scrutinize. So, we're ready. Let's read it. It's upon a person to pray each day that the Creator will open his eyes so he will recognize the greatness and importance of the Creator. So, he has fuel to labor with the aim to bestow. There are 2 discernments to make in this. 1. To have a desire to bestow contentment upon his Maker, that this will be his only aspiration. 2. To do things with the aim that the actions will bring him a desire to do things in order to please the Creator. In other words, he must work and toil extensively in order to obtain a light. And a plea light means that he received from the Creator a desire where he craves all day long to bring contentment to the Creator. And a plea is a desire, meaning that he wants to bestow upon the Creator. Those 2 he should receive from the Creator, meaning both the light and the plea. Can, yes, saying, read it again. So let's read it again. It is upon a person to pray each day that the Creator will open his eyes so he will recognize the greatness and importance of the Creator. So he has fuel to labor with the aim to bestow. There are 2 discernments to make of this. 1. To have a desire to bestow contentment upon his Maker, that this will be his only aspiration. To do things with the aim that the actions will bring him a desire to do things in order to please the Creator. In other words, he must work and toil extensively to obtain light and vessel. Light means that he received from the Creator a desire where he craves all day to bring contentment to the Creator. Or is a desire, meaning that he wants to bestow upon the Creator. Those 2 he should receive from the Creator, meaning both the light and the is adding. To understand this discernment, he starts from the importance of the Creator by prayer that the Creator will open his eyes and that a person will receive the importance of the Creator, and that activates a desired and also the fuel to want to be able to bestow. That is the starting point of the scrutiny. And first, that discernment, and the second discernment is that he has that desire. He already receives it, meaning first he does deeds to have such a desire to begin with. That's called a vessel. And the second discernment, that he already gets such a desire, he yearns all day to give contentment to the Creator. If we read the end of the excerpt, it's written in a very clear way. And these 2 he should receive from the Creator, meaning both the light and the plea. That is, we have no such desire. We have no such longing, not for the first or the second discernment. We don't have it in our vessels. And those things we have to receive both the vessel and the filling. That follows, and that needs a scrutiny. After that, what we need to do in order to draw sufficient light so that we receive both the vessel and the light. We're also told that we have an effort to do on our behalf, to do deeds in order to reach that desire that we will want to give contentment to the Creator. So we do all kinds of efforts for that. Like we've mentioned here before, said how I could have a desire if I don't have a desire. So where do I get it? But from envy, lust and honor that we awaken in each other. From acting, we awaken the desire as if we have it and we understand that we can attain it. We're going to continue to another workshop. We chose 3 questions for this excerpt, so it's a complex excerpt, as we can see. Our next question for our workshop is like this. What's the difference between the light and the Kli according to what Rabash describes in this excerpt? What's the difference between the light and the Kli in the manner in which Rabash describes here? So, please 4 more minutes. What's the difference between the light and the vessel? I understood that the desire to bestow the light and the vessel is the intention to bestow. To want to receive a desire to bestow is the Kli, and the bestow itself is the light. When the bestow itself is accepted in the will to be so, there's no difference between light and vessel. As he writes that the Klis did the desire and the light, that he received the desire, that he yearns to bring him contentment, and he has this deficiency all the time to fill the Creator with the intention in order to bestow. So a desire to bestow and the intention to bring contentment and to fill the Creator to bestow to him is the light. And that is the discernment between receiving and giving. And the light, when we receive it, it creates a desire in the created being that wants to give contentment to the Creator, and the vessel is already to want to give back. Yet we actually feel it on ourselves that we don't have such a desire. But the vessel is that we want to have such a desire. We do a lot of deeds for it's such an intention that we want to yearn to give contentment to the Creator when we already get this desire, this yearning, that these will be all our thoughts and aspirations and prayers and intentions. To give contentment to the Creator, that is already a great gift that such desires built in us. We saw it in the preface to explained that in the created being he creates a new desire. Okay, so we have in the excerpt the definition. It goes like this. Light means that he received from the Creator a desire where he craves all day to bring contentment to the Creator. That's how he defines it. Light means that he received from the Creator a desire where he craved all day to bring contentment to the Creator, and a Kli is a desire, meaning that he wants to bestow upon the Creator. Those are the two definitions that he writes here, and the difference between them. The desire to want this thing is truly our effort to begin with. That's the vessel that we want, that we're asking for, and the Creator gives it to us, and the fulfillment or the answer we say is that we really get such a desire to give contentment to the Creator all day. A very strong desire, which is actually kind of equivalence of form to the Creator. Okay friends, first of all it's very moving to see all the common work here in the tens in the world everywhere, and we want to continue to scrutinize the words of Rabash from the center of the 10 together, friends sitting together, reading Rabash words. So in the end of this excerpt, Rabash tells us, we will read at the end there. He says light means that he received from the Creator a desire where he craves all day to bring contentment to the Creator. Again, light means that he received from the Creator a desire where he craves all day to bring contentment to the Creator. A Kli is a desire, meaning that he wants to bestow upon the Creator. Those two he should receive from the Creator, meaning both the light and the Kli. So he wants to get into another workshop question. Rabash says in the end of the excerpt that these two a person needs to receive from the Creator. Again, Rash tells us in the end of the excerpt that those two he should receive from the Creator. So if it's so, what is a person's work in this process? Where is a person's work if he receives both of these from the Creator? Please, an additional workshop 4 minutes after it we will want to do an open assembly to hear questions that came up in the 10. So appoint a representative in each 10 that will bring up discernments and scrutinies, and we will want friends to scrutinize those questions again together. So again, workshop question says these two he should receive from the Creator. What if so is a person's work in this process? It's written in number 8. It is upon a person to pray each day that the Creator will open his eyes so he will recognize the greatness and importance of the Creator. That's what a person needs to do all the time. And also in the end it's interesting how Rarish defines the clear like this. 3 times the word desire and the second where is it the second? 1 and 2 and the clear meaning for him to have a desire to want to bestow upon the greater, and even before that there's the word desire this flee within it that you can receive the light, the bestowal from the Creator. This vessel is the corrected desire in order to bestow. He writes both of these he needs to receive from the Creator. So if he needs to receive, he won't be able to receive if he doesn't ask. So therefore he needs to demand to ask the Creator. And if he does this together with the friends in a common request, there's also a possibility of an answer from the Creator. A reply is saying that this whole process starts when a person searches for the Creator. Usually we receive all the gifts that the Creator gives us our whole life. Everything we receive are the gifts. But we forget who the giver is. That's why a person's exertion is to start with who's giving me all these gifts. For this you need prayer rites to lift the importance of the giver. This brings the light and the vessel. Like he says, a person has to give great exertion to attain that light and vessel. Like in the beginning of the excerpt, that a person has to pray that the Creator will open his eyes, so he will recognize the greatness and importance. That'll have the importance. So he has the fuel to labor with the aim of bestow. So a person has to do a lot of deeds to attain this deficiency, that this will be his desire to bestow to the Creator. Yes. Now too we're reading the answer. What is our role in this whole thing? If both the light and the kli were received from the upper force, and it's written in the beginning of the excerpt, as Roman read and also Naivi, it is upon a person to pray each day that the Creator will open his eyes so he will recognize the greatness and importance of the Creator. So he has fuel to labor with the aim to bestow. That excerpt is very complex. Complex. Where do you get that? 2. And that we received probably just from the friends. The friends are talking about something wonderful and I wanted envy. And then together we ask for something. We ask for the 6th finger that we don't have. And then okay friends. So we'll go to an assembly now. Let's ask every 10 to raise the scrutiny as you had questions. Then we'll ask friends around the world to also answer those questions. It's a very important action. Don't miss out. We heard from Love. Why is he giving so much time for questions and answers? Look, we read one excerpt during a lesson and then only questions and answers. 'Cause with this we can draw light. It's not simple, but let's make the effort. Go into the friend's heart, see what he's asking, and use this time for inner changes. So, please, we had a scrutiny in the about this thing. What does it mean? That you're doing everything. We were all doing efforts in the All World League, and there were 2 examples that we thought about, and maybe it's worthwhile to scrutinize. One, a friend said like a junkie. A junkie doesn't have a question. If he did everything, he'll do everything in order to attain his drug. And another example of course in another world is children. If a child wants something, he'll dig. You know, everyone knows he'll do whatever it takes to get what he wants. And the question is, are we like that? I said, I'm not like that. There's always something else I could have done. The question is, how do we come to a state where we're like a child who digs? He'll drive his parents crazy until he gets what he wants, like we read just now. So that's the question that we had come up. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Also around the world you can raise your question. marks in our 10. More or less what we said is that a person needs from the group to demand the light of bestow, otherwise nothing will happen. That's the summary of the whole workshop. Cannot also friends in the world? We want to see your question marks if you had some scrutinies that came up. Latin 6. Please. Hello, friends. Great discernments that are coming up here, and also with the 10. We came to a summary that we have to make efforts to taste the light in the desire and to get those qualities that will fill our perception, and then with the efforts in the 10. So thanks to the Creator, there's a friend you can work with and implement it. Thank you, Cap. 12. Hello world. So we kind of came to the conclusion that it's really critical to first and foremost pretend as if we already have this burning desire, like we don't want to live unless we can bring contentment to the Creator, and that we have to be able to all the actions we do. We're begging for the Creator to give our 10 that actual ability to work solely for Him. So essentially the discernment was about how critical it is to role-play that we're already there, and that kind of starts us on the path of the desire. You become a child who feels his parents' desires and tries to do anything they want to eat, to learn something, to take a walk, to become like that perfect child that fulfills the parent's desire. Yeah. First of all, a big thank you to the instructors and the friends who prepared this lesson, because we truly felt how also this workshop and the scrutinies are so much connected to the first part of the lesson where we studied the preface. Oh, we truly felt like there's an ocean below this excerpt we could probably scrutinize the whole day. And the beautiful thing is that we truly feel how much it brings us closer to each other. This is really, I think, an innovation that there's such a great intensity of this scrutiny that we truly feel this greatness of the Creator, the importance of the goal, and the closeness of friends. So thank you so much. Friends, can woman, Masham came to one opinion that first of all, we need to understand the importance of our actions, that it's important for us to do it, and it's truly necessary for us of why we're doing these actions, that we really need it like oxygen to breathe. Like Rob said in one of the articles, that at night you wake up a person when there's a fire. That's the importance that we should have the intention for a connection in the tent, where we want to bestow to one another, to bestow to the friends, and we want to connect, and each time we add and work together, and we understood that we've done everything we could and we can't do any more than that, then we raise a prayer to the Creator from the 10, a prayer of many, and that's how we advance. Thank you. Thank you for the participation, and we see that a lot of friends are asking a similar question. What does it mean that you have done everything? What does it mean that a person did everything he could? So we want to ask friends here and also in the world and answer that question what Yam and other friends asked. What does it mean that a person did everything he could? Does someone want to answer here, or should we choose? We'll choose. We'll surprise you. So we're asking friends to get ready to answer the questions. What does it mean that you did everything? So we want to hear what does it mean that you did everything, or studying in a circle. You have a microphone there, and friends around the world, be ready. We're going to turn to YouTube. First of all, thank you for the privilege to participate in this thing. And in our case, as the Lord wants us to say, we need to concentrate all our efforts towards our connection in the 10. And after we attain that degree, Ra taught us that then the godly, emotional mind will come and will awaken that part in us. What does it mean that you did everything? They say that everything in your powers to do it. So just to try as much as you can to keep adding nailing that feels that the Creator blessed all the commandments Between a person and the friends, that's where you have to put all your efforts. What is it that you did? Everything on purpose. We want to ask friends that we don't hear every day, and it's good and we're yearning to hear them. I don't think there's such a thing, because we always receive the light that bothers. To conclude everything. Thank you, Michael. From what does it mean that you did everything? Let's go to Michael. What does it mean that you did everything? That means that I need all that I can do with my hands to support the friends to succeed in spirituality, but I can't do it. So I really raise a prayer from the depth of my heart. Thank you, Michael Sando from Hungary. Polish. What does it mean? We really feel that we are at the border. We really feel that we craved everything that we have inside us, and it's worthless because it's not in us. We just want to let the light crave the clear above us, the clear from where we will be able to bestow. Thank you. Moscow. At Moscow 1. I incorporated in the friends and did everything I could, and beyond that. That's what it means. I did everything. Yes. In a moment we're going to move to hear a clip from, but we want to hear the friends of one verse, please, Sasha. What does it mean that you did everything? Please? Maybe. Sure. Okay. So I'll say it. It's not that. You always feel you have more to do, but when you have no more forces to do, that means you did everything. Like a person drowning, and did everything he could to save himself. So then he just devotes himself to the ocean to do whatever it needs to do with him. So that's how we have to devote ourselves to the Creator, that He'll do everything He needs to do upon us. Who will be lost? Jan, tell us what is it that you did everything? I think that only when I reach a despair from my own forces, it's a true prayer. I think I'm doing all kinds of things, but eventually when I reach despair my own forces, that truly is a prayer. Thank you. And you're almost quoting word by word Rav's words in piece number 2 that we have here. Look how special the words that Rav tells us. Let's see them if we can see them on the screen. This is what Rav said. Gives us for the time being a solution that if a person takes out of himself all that's possible, all the forces in order to reach for the sake of the Creator, to bestow to the Creator, which is called for the sake of the Creator, then he can give a prayer from the depth of his heart. This means that only under the condition that he tears himself down completely and is willing to do anything possible in order to reach the Creator, then he comes to a state where he sees it's impossible, and only in such a state, when he sees that it is impossible, then the Creator hears his prayer. Let's hear it again together. The whole world, clear the whole world. Group and try to enter into Ra's words gives us a solution for the time being, that if a person takes out of himself all that's possible, all the forces to reach for the sake of the Creator, to bestow to the Creator, is called for the sake of the Creator, and then he can give a prayer from the depth of his heart, meaning only under the condition that he tears himself down completely and is willing to do everything in order to reach the Creator. He comes to a state that he sees it's impossible, and only in such a state, when he sees that it's impossible, then the Creator hears his prayer. I think the time has come. Maybe if we could sing something about prayer. If you could. I hope that it's a possible surprise. There's a lot of songs about prayer, but no matter what they say that prepared us on the topic of prayer, I shall let God. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thank you. Here, O Israel, we're going to move to the reading of the Torah. But before that, we want to see clip number 2 that will prepare us to how we open ourselves to the bestow of the light upon us. Please, clip number 2. How do we open ourselves to let the light bestow upon us, that we are ready for all the actions of the light in us to perform its action upon us? clearer more closer to us that we want to embrace his action to embrace to hug his action, and we want to feel his actions. Truly, from zero to the place of its execution, how do we hug the action of the light? As I want to change, I want the light to come and perform upon me all its actions such that from his actions things will be clear to me, at least clear not in order to be able to tell. That's another effort. Clear according to the operations between the lights and their vessels, and what he does and how as a result of that vessels are born in me. That's what we do. The main thing is to deepen in what we speak and in what we want to advance us, and how we can grasp these things more internally. And that's it. Everything's on the way. Let's go to the next part of the lesson. We're reading from a moment. Who created these? Item 7. In the beginning. Started. Lift up your eyes on high and see who created these. Lift up your eyes. To which place? To the place to which all look in anticipation. The opening of the eyes of. Here you will know that this hidden to whom the question who created these applies. Who is he? He is the one called meet of the one who is called from the edge of the heaven above, and who is the in possession of everything. And since the question lies in him and he is concealed, he is called me, who is in a question. This is so because there are no questions above him, and this edge of the heaven where questions are found is called me. Explanation explains the meaning of the creation of heaven and earth in the verse. Of heaven and earth are the whole of the 7 days of creation. There's on of. Hence why does it right created which is and not it should have said or emanated. The Zohar says that the opening of the eyes is because this of is called or n eyes also o. There are only. This is called the opening of the eyes. Since by her opening the Moab poured down from to all. This why it is written to the place to which all look in anticipation. Since of his called, and there is no Moab in all the parts, except by opening of there in the opening of the eyes in Malat. Of you will know this matter. How created the zone, since the word created means meaning outside of the degree, and since Bina herself went outside the degree of brochure and thus became regarded as Briar in relation to she necessarily created the zone as well. Hensing became, since what comes out of Briar is regarded as became, since all that comes out of is called. However, they must not be compared to the actual behind of, because these sons stand above in the world of, rather it refers only to the. Hence there are two kinds of by in it. One separated by, which were separated from by, the which is the ground of the world, of it standing over them from above. Two of the world of itself, which are its and va. They are only outside the row of, and they are still absolute. But the para inside the intestine of these at the place of his stands over them from above. For this reason they're separated from offhand, considered goof without a meaning, lacking mo of which is called with respect to the world of. This is so because usually the world of is regarded as smar of all four worlds of. That which lacks is regarded as goof without a row. It was said that this hidden in whom there is a question created these which came out of by the rows to ended therein. Because of it she came out into being Briar and Goofin, and was therefore divided into two phases, and the origin of is the 10 of direct light. Its nature is not to receive any but only light of, as it is written, for he desires mercy and not. Thus her exit to the goof does not blemish her at all, since even when she is at the of she does not receive from him. For this reason she is not lessened at all because of her position below. of, and now too she is regarded as a complete, as though she never came out of the rush of, and she's established in upper about that clothing from to the second phase of her from the incorporation of zon in Biner, who are the root of the zon in. Hence they need illumination of for the zon. For this reason they were blemished by their presence in Goffin, which became devoid of, and they are considered breer and vak without, as said about them batukama, outside the row of they are called and clothed. From sharpen our intention together with Rob's words in the next clip, please. What do we want? Force that reforms us. That force of bestow, force of love, force of balance between the systems of the will to receive and the will to bestow, that it will adapt between them and will feel the spiritual life. That's the force we need, the force of the light. That's why the soul is the upper illumination, the upper radiance that comes from that is what we're expecting that will come and bestow upon us. And after it does that, we will be in a nature that is similar, and their sons son clothed from and below through the end of the world of the para inside the intestine of stands at his, because she is the force of the which brings of outside the disrupting in them from receiving. But this is because even through this screen stands at the pit of it still does not act there in any way, since upper regarded as which are still considered are standing there. It follows that only at the place of above said of the power of the screen dominates ejecting seener below it outside. But thus is called the concealed, since the is called, and since the who are fern below are regarded as still standing at, and they too are called like the of, however, because of their presence in the goof of they are the concealed whom in whom there is a question created these, meaning only the zat of this concealed is whom there is a question to receive the zone into them by raising money. This is so because these means a scent of man, as in asking about the rains, and only this hidden of are poised for a question to receive man for extension of light of, since they are devoid of before that they are regarded as by. Hence the zon created those who are called these, and the two were created without alike him, since the word created indicates a lack of with respect to and who is me. It is the satiner which are poised for a question. They are called meek, and the word created relates to them because they themselves became due to the para at which separates them from the illumination or from the edge of the heaven above. Everything is in his possession, of which are called and are called me are considered the edge of the heaven above. This is so because heaven is who receives only from who is called me. This is why me is called the edge of the heaven above, that everything is in his possession, since the heaven and the earth which is on, and the three lower worlds, they all receive from who is called me. This is why everything is in his possession. This is so because there are no questions above him, and this edge of the heaven where questions are found is called me. This means that there are no questions above and upper above, since they do not receive man for extension of, as they are light of and are not devoid. This is why they are not called me, as they are not considered the edge of their heaven. For they do not need said which need illumination of, and there is a question only in said which are you to receive man from the zone and to raise to rise to receive illumination of for them. Hence they are considered the edge of the heaven above, because who is called heaven receives from them. Number 8, and there is another one below called, and what is the connection between one and the other one called me is hidden, and there is a question in him. Since man questioned and researched to look and to know from degree to degree through the end of all the degrees. The once he had arrived there he is, meaning what did you know, what did you observe, what did you research after? All everything is as concealed as before. Explanation. When is face to face. Within is also called liking. She's regarded as the edge of the heaven, below, since she is the end of all the degrees and ends. The it follows who is called heaven stands between. The who is called the edge of the heaven above, and the who is called the edge of the heaven below. And the man asked in research to observe. To observe refers to the coupling of above, called of at each other through their ascent. To at that time returns to receive illumination of for the zone. This is because, while do not need illumination of for themselves, since in and of themselves are similar to their, and do not need to receive when zone rise. For waken for them to rise, to and to receive. However, do not rise from man to accept, by raising man from the lower people to the zone in a way that the souls of people rise from man to zone. Then the zone rise from man to and rise to above and become one with upper above. At that time look at each other and extend for the zone.